ladies and gentlemen, my name is eSportsMonies, ESM, Mech 10, whatever you want to call me, and today I'm going to be going over 10 things, 10 common tips, tricks, tidbits of knowledge that you may or may not already know. Probably do not know this first one because a lot of people playing in TI messed it up. So some of these will be very, very broad, and some of these will be very, very specific. This is one of the more specific ones, however, I believe you can do it on heroes like Beastmaster, Coddle, anyone that's got a big AoE, but preferably physical AoE, so the Acid Spray for Alchemist is big. Also, Alchemist loves to farm, and this is the farming trick. So what we're going to do is we're going to stack this camp and this camp at the exact same time. Now at TI, okay, my AIs are coming to me because I pinged. At TI, I saw some pro player attack this camp right here and then walk back. And in doing so, he threw down the Acid Spray and then walked like right over here. And you can see this spawn, like this is such a small distance from the spawn box to you that if you have like one of those ranged satyrs, there's no way you're stacking that camp. Like you're just not. Even if you're not like trying to stack the ancients at the same time, this is a very, very difficult camp to stack from this side. It's just like almost impossible. It's actually almost impossible to do even when you come from the other side, which is what we're going to be doing. So the first thing you need to do is cut down this tree, this exact tree. Alright, so you're going to want to throw down the acid when it's about halfway through there and a little bit back. What? Why did I attack this? Whatever, that shouldn't be an issue. We'll take a tower shot and go back. It's actually kind of nice. You can actually pull these to the tower to take a little bit, and you can actually pull these to your creep wave. You got to attack in about 40 seconds. So 53 seconds, which is what we're shooting for, we're going to throw the acid down. And we have aggroed the hard camp. And this is the satyr camp I was talking about. Yes. And we have aggroed the ancient camp. So now we have successfully stacked the hard camp and the ancient camp at the exact same time. Again, you want it to be about there, but you should probably rewind the video to take a look because now the creeps are blocking me. But you want to throw that down. You want it to be at exactly 53 seconds, and you have to cut this tree down. If either camp's already stacked, forget it, kill them, and then stack them from not being stacked at all. Because if either one's already stacked, you're going to have major, major problems in doing this. So the next thing we're going to talk about is, and don't mind my hero, don't pay attention to that at all, we're going to talk about Quelling Blade versus Blightstone. So Quelling Blade gives melee heroes 40% additional damage against creeps, and 15% for ranged. That 15% is not much. Let's say a ranged hero, Zeus for example, starts at 50, so if you're getting 15%, that means he's doing 7.5 additional damage to creeps. Not very much. If Zeus were melee, however, he would be doing like an additional 20-some damage to creeps, which is pretty big. The point that I am trying to make...
Whoever bought those wards is my kind of hero.
Thank you, Crystal Nathan. The point I'm trying to make is that when people buy Quelling Blades in 3 and 4K MMR, a lot of time they're doing it because they're bad at last hitting, and I am very guilty of this. But you see professional players who aren't building Iron Talon and who aren't building a Battle Fury buy Quelling Blade. Why is that? Because that 40% damage on melee heroes is actually really, really nice when you're killing jungle creeps. It's actually really big. So why am I talking about Quelling Blade? So for one, the reason that pro players buy it is because it helps you kill shit in the jungle faster. But what if you're bad at last hitting? What if you're bad at last hitting and you want to play a ranged hero? Quelling Blade doesn't do a lot. This is where Blightstone comes in. Blightstone is the new recipe item for, relatively new recipe item for Desolator and Medallion of Courage, and it reduces the armor on your target by 2. that means you have 0 physical damage. You go from 10% physical damage resistance to 2. So if you're hitting, let's say you're Medusa, you're hitting for around 60 damage around level 2, you get a bigger bonus from having that orb than you do from having a Quelling Blade. And more importantly, it works on heroes. You will sell this at some point. It's a little more expensive than a Quelling Blade, and you will sell it at some point to make room for something else, because on a lot of those heroes you don't, unless you build a Desolator anyway, in which case you should just always have this from level 1, especially if you have a hero like Weaver, because the buff sticks and therefore both attacks do it. But so if you're trying to get last hits on a ranged hero, remember Blightstone, it's like the ranged hero's Quelling Blade. I use it on a lot of heroes. So Mask of Madness on Medusa, if you've watched the Only Way to Play guide on Medusa, then you probably are already familiar with this. But basically, on Medusa, the way Mask of Madness interacts with her mana shield, she takes almost no additional damage when Mask of Madness is activated. So think about Mask of Madness, Helm of the Dominator, Hand of Midas. All of these items essentially do the same thing in that they help you get farmed faster, and they don't really do much else. Mask of Madness is okay in fights, but you're not very tanky. Vlad's is good in fights and good throughout the game, but it doesn't increase your farming speed that much. Helm of the Dominator is okay because you have lifesteal, you have additional armor and additional regen, but they're very, very minimal stats for the 2,000 gold price tag, and you're just using them to stack Ancients, and you're only getting an additional Ancient Camp out of that once per minute. So on Medusa Mask of Madness, you're allowing yourself at like 10 minutes in with a Mask of Madness and Phase Boots, you can actually clear the entire jungle every minute. That is a lot of gold. And if you have support stacking, which is probably very rare, you can farm the lane and the jungle at the same time. And you can actually kill Ancients with Mask of Madness on Medusa really, really, really early. Like the same. Medusa can kill Ancients with Mask of Madness at the same time that Lycan can comfortably kill Ancients with Mask of Madness. It is a massive item on her. Number 4, we're going to talk about the rubber band mechanic and gold versus experience in the rubber band mechanic. So everyone's familiar with the rubber band mechanic. Several patches ago, I want to say like 2 years ago, the rubber band mechanic was introduced. And what the rubber band mechanic did was it made it so that if you were way far ahead and you lost a team fight, it was actually end of 2013 this patch came out, sorry, it was the post-TI 3 patch. If you lost a big team fight and you were way ahead in farm and kills, then you could see like a 10,000 gold swing from like one bad fight. Now the rubber band patch got nerfed really hard. I would say the rubber band patch for gold is probably 10, I think it's 15, but I will say like between 10 and 20% of as big of a rubber band mechanic for gold as it used to be. So the rubber band mechanic for gold is there, but it's not nearly as potent as it once was. And this was fixed like within a few months of that patch. One thing I want to point out though is that the EXP rubber band was never nerfed, to my knowledge. If it was nerfed, it was only nerfed very, very, very slightly. The EXP rubber band essentially means that if you're farming out of control and getting mad levels, if you get ganked once, you could give a couple levels to a support. Very, very, very easily. The experienced rubber band is super, super real. Keep that in mind. 5. Pushing towers in the Tier 1 glyph. If you're pushing this Tier 2, and your allies are pushing this Tier 1, and you just killed this, and now they're glyphing up, you may want to tell your allies not to get the last hit on this tower before you kill this tower if you're playing a hero that can actually kill that tower. Because in doing so, if they kill this tower, they're going to unlock a glyph that they can then use to save their Tier 2. And Tier 1s don't have backdoor protection no matter what. You can just walk up to a Tier 1 at any point in time and mow it down. Tier 2s have backdoor protection, and they're much more important than Tier 1s. It might be better if they just if you have to take the choice, always take the 2/2, have your allies back off, and you can come in and sort of snipe this tower later if you need to. So the next thing we're going to talk about is backdoor protection in the main base. If there is one enemy creep right here, if let's say there are no tier 2s, these 2 towers are gone, these 2 towers are gone, all 6 outer towers are gone on Dire. If there's one enemy creep right here, not only does this not have backdoor protection, this doesn't have backdoor protection, and this doesn't have backdoor protection. If you have an enemy creep right here, this tower all the way down here doesn't have backdoor protection. If you're playing a rat game, that's really important, because if you see, you've got 2 heroes here, and you've got like 3 or 4 heroes here, and you've got 1 or 2 sort of cleaning up this wave that's coming in. If you see a big wave right here, and you're playing like Nature's Prophet or Lycan or something, you can TP in right here, throw down a whole bunch of trees, and get, if you went Deso or you're Lycan, you can maybe knock down this tower. Well, you can do chip damage if you're Nature's. If you're Lycan, you can knock the tower down before they can actually get there, because they don't have backdoor protection. This is something that a lot of people don't realize. If you're pushing with your team and this tower is like at 10% and you're pushing up this and you're playing a right-click hero, you're playing a split push hero, and they're pushing in, you can just rotate bottom or top, wherever the low tower is, and just knock it down and get the range racks for yourself. Range racks do not regenerate. Melee racks actually regenerate at double the rate that they did 3 years ago. They regenerate at I want to say 5 health per second now. I think that's what it was doubled to. I don't remember the original, but basically their regen was doubled and range racks is removed. So most people know that range racks don't regenerate, but if you didn't, it's a big deal. So 7, we already kind of talked about this. When you're thinking about drums and you're thinking about Vlads, you should be also thinking about a mech. This is technically point number 7, but this is going to bleed into point number 8, which is talking about the offlane of the jungle and what you should do with that first like 2,000 gold chunk of items, because a lot of people want to get a blink dagger if you're playing Enigma or if you're playing Darkseer. But you should go for the mech if you're playing Enigma or Darkseer. All the blink dagger does on Enigma, what the blink dagger primarily does on Enigma and Darkseer, is it sets you up for a big spell. With Darkseer, it sets you up for the vacuum. With Enigma, it obviously sets you up for the black hole. Vacuum's not that big of a spell in the early game, and black hole has 140 second, might be 180. I'm pretty sure it's 140 second. Actually, I think it's 180. Well, regardless, it's one of the biggest cooldowns, if not the biggest cooldown in the entire game. And you're not fighting that much usually in the early and mid game, and if you are, you have that massive cooldown to fight around. So that blink dagger is only providing you help every like 3 minutes. Versus if you have a mech, you don't have to be a top skilled player to use a mech. You just press one button when your enemy starts a fight or when your allies are in the middle of a fight. It gives you health, it gives you ridiculous regen, gives you ridiculous armor, and it gives you shitloads of stats. It makes you very, very tanky. A lot of people don't realize this. So let's look at what a mech does. Let's look at all of these stats on a mech. So the mech gives you 250 health plus 2 armor, and the duration is 25, and the cooldown is 65. So this is every minute. You get a massive heal, and you also give plus 4 regen per second in an aura around you, even when you don't have the mech buff on them. And this is 25 gold more expensive than a blink dagger, which literally just gives you a positional advantage. Now that can be big on a lot of heroes, and I'm not saying don't get blink dagger on Enigma, because it is the item I go for immediately after getting a mech. But you should be thinking about a mech on Enigma. You should be thinking about a mech on Darkseer. Any hero that has... The only question that I ask myself when I get the money for either a blink dagger or a mech is whether or not I have the mana pool to support a mech. And if the answer is yes, then I go mech. Axe is a hero that's kind of a big exception to the rule, because strength heroes in general are sort of an exception to the rule. 1, because they have short cooldowns. Centaur has a short cooldown and a stomp. Slardar has a short cooldown on his stomp. Blink, stomp, they can do that every 12 to 14 seconds. They can blink initiate, blink initiate, blink initiate, blink initiate, and they can make something happen. And they also don't have the mana pool to support Mech's active, which costs 225 mana. That's absolutely massive on a hero like Centaur or Axe. It's not that big on Enigma. So,
let's talk about your time.
number 9 I want to talk about
There's really
is
no reason to stand for this.
Iron Talon in the offlane. Actually, first we're going to talk number 10, which is sneaky rune ward spots. So you have this ward spot here, you have this ward spot, you have this ward spot. Where do I ward? Well, one, there used to be this spot over here, and to some extent this still works. I actually haven't tried this. I actually don't play support a lot, as you guys probably know. But instead of risking that, set the ward directly above that tree. Directly above the tree. Like, I mean, right on top of the tree. And if you do that, you have all this vision here. You can get a good look at the mid lane. You can see his side of the river. You can see your side of the river. Doesn't help your offlane that much. But you also get rune vision. You just barely have rune vision. And, most importantly, in pubs when people are trying to win, they will throw down sentries like right in here, or right here, or right here. And if they do that, your ward is safe from their sentry. That's the biggest thing. It gives you a ward that is most likely to be safe from sentries on the bottom rune. Top, I usually throw my ward here because this seems a little bit too obvious, but you might have to alternate just because if you throw there and get dewarded, throw over here. If you ward, you'd be shocked how many people just ward and deward the exact same spot constantly. So just change up your ward spot slightly, be out of range of their sentry. If they don't see you with an obs when you throw down the ward, they probably will think you just gave up on warding and they won't try again. Another thing you want to consider is when you're warding to block camps, if you're going to block the Ancients, if it's a low-level pub, block the Ancients because the carry will be too greedy to spend the money to de-ward it. If it's a high-level pub, throw down your ward right here or right here. One of the reasons I like warding right here is this edge of this little campfire. I'll actually move over to show you guys the campfire. This edge of the campfire is... buy an Iron Talon for the next tip. This is the edge of the spawn box, essentially. We'll actually grab a ward so that we can see, because I don't know the hotkey for that, if there is a hotkey. But basically, this edge right here is the edge of where the Ancients can spawn. So if you throw a ward down right here, you have great vision of when the enemy carry is farming the Ancients. And in pubs, where do people commonly ward? They throw wards here so that they can get it. Like if you're dire, a lot of people will throw wards right here because it gives you good vision of your hard camp, it gives you okay vision of the Ancients, and it gives you a safe trip to the secret shop. People also throw down sentries everywhere they throw down obs. So you get an obs and a sentry right here. That's not going to reveal this. If people are warding by the rune, the most defensive spot they'll get is usually obs and sentry right in here. Sentries have a lower vision range than obs. If you throw down a sentry and an obs, like right here, or a sentry and an obs, like right in this area, you're not going to reveal this. So if you are... you almost have to put a sentry down in this area specifically for this ward if you put down a ward right here. And of course, you'll need a team that's competent enough to want to come over and kill the enemy carry while he's farming these Ancients, but you sort of get my drift. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about, and probably the most fun, interesting, and relevant for you guys, is let's say you like to play a greedy jungler, like me. You just love playing those stupid greedy junglers, but your team doesn't like it when you play those stupid greedy junglers. Well, you can do what professional players do. An Iron Talon jungle. It's fine. It's totally fine. This is what people do in professional games. They just you got Iron Talon now. Why would you do the offlane? Why would you do the offlane? You got Iron Talon, bro. if you throw a stout shield and some tangles on this guy, take in mind, it's 18 minutes in, but I'm level 2. Look. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, it's the money train, and I'm gonna get pretty low here just because, again, level 2, don't have any stat items. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you want to get AFK jungle farm, and you don't want to piss off your team, go offlane, hang around down here, and down, like, at this point where it's safe to get a little bit of CS and soak up experience, and then as soon as the enemy pulls and the wave goes down here, ignore them and march your Iron Talon ass up to this camp. Don't stack it like I did, because it can be kind of hard to kill once it's a stack. But just take an Iron Talon and kill this camp. Iron Talon is, like, it's my favorite and least favorite item. It's my favorite on heroes like Lycan. Expect a new Lycan guide soon. I actually use Iron Talon to jungle Lycan every game now because Microsoft told me to start, because if I didn't, I was being stupid and hard-headed. But yeah, really, really like the Iron Talon jungle. It's good for jungling, it's good for killing the creeps in the offlane to get farm when you can't get farm in the offlane. Iron Talon is like the best item in Dota. It's like, it's also the worst because you have a lot of idiots jungling Legion Commander. And I just say they're idiots just because I don't like the type of people that typically jungle Legion Commander, but I jungle a lot of dumber stuff. This has been eSportsMonies, the SM Mech 10, whatever you want to call me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe and like buttons. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/MacX10. I will be streaming Lycan games there somewhat regularly over the next 2 weeks, and then I'll be gone forever because last year grad school will be starting. So, thanks again for watching, and